Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Talking Grit is brought to you by the Monroe County Reporters, Monroe's top news source for police, fire, and community events.
Post 3, Depot Street, truck boy at request.
Follow them on Facebook, and for $2.99 a month, you can become a subscriber and get the news you crave even faster.
All right, everybody, welcome to Talking Grit. I'm Jason Harwood, and you know who is with me. It's Jacob Litton. He's here every time. Can't get rid of him, but I, feel bad. It's my charity work for the week, I guess. We're here to preview the Week 10 matchup between the Texans and our Lions. So we go from America's Game of the Week to Sunday Night Football. It's going to be our second game on Sunday Night Football this year after appearing there in Week 1 versus the Rams. Our interview today is with Stephanie Stradley. She's a longtime Houston Chronicle Texans writer. She was actually voted Ultimate Fan in 2006 and very passionate about the Texans. That will come in loud and clear in the interview. She loves her state, and like a lot of Texans do. So it's a good interview. Really looking forward to you listening to that. You have that to look forward to. But Jacob, you and I are looking forward to this game. We're going to have a new player possibly playing in this game. Sounds like he's going to be suiting up. It's Zadarius Smith. Had the big trade, long rumored, long thought about. It happened. What do you have to say about it?
Awesome that we finally made a move, right? I guess that they said he's not actually going to be in Detroit or not actually going to be in the building until Friday. Mm-hmm. And he's, I guess, going to travel and go ahead and give it a shot and play on Sunday in a rotational role. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I don't know if you saw, they talked to J-Mo about it. J-Mo said that, we turned the defense up to a whole nother level. Said he used to be a problem in the Madden games. That's what J-Mo said. He's 32 years old. He's been playing alongside Myles Garrett. I don't want the expectations to be too high for him. Obviously, it's a huge get. It's a huge roster need. And this was somebody that we talked about, and a lot of people talked about, that it just made sense. It just fit. Seems like a Lions player. He fits the mold. He played for both Green Bay and Minnesota, so he definitely knows what NFC North football is about. I'm very happy that we got him. I'm happy that we didn't have to give up very much as well. I don't think expectations should be sky high just yet. I think him doesn't make the defense what it was when Hutch was around. But he's going to be able to create pressure. He's going to be more effective on the outside than some of the other rotational pieces that we've been using. So, definitely think he amps up the defense. I'm really, really excited that we got him. What are your thoughts?
I'm happy that, number one, a move's made. It just reaffirms that we're in our window. It's going to be a big window. This is not just this year, but Brad Holmes keeps improving the team. I was just happy from the angle of it was kind of expected, and then it finally happened. I was in line voting when it came up. I know you were at work, and we were both, the bubbles on both of our phones started showing at the same time. We're typing, and we both.
It's happening.
It finally happened. So it was exciting. I'm with you. Let's temper expectations. He's not Hutch. No one's Hutch. Outside of getting Max Crosby, that was the only one that was going to replace him 1-to-1. But he gives us another piece. Culture fit. He's going to come in, work hard, do his job. Maybe this week we're going to temper it because he's not going to get in until Friday. He was actually on his bye week. This was the Browns' bye week this week. And so that's why Dan Campbell gave him the first couple of days off. I don't know if Zadarius had plans or, whatever, but he's got to get his affairs in. He's moving, at least it's a short distance from Cleveland to Detroit, but, it's a big
I bet he was actually running here.
Right. And so, that's one thing that Dan Campbell does. They do right by the players, and I think they did right by Zadarius. And is going to be limited what he could do this week anyways. He's like you said, 32 years old. He's been around the league. They're going to get him in certain packages. He's going to hold the edge. He's going to be able to, provide help in the run game. And, we possibly have him for next year too. So I can go through those numbers. So for this year, it's relatively cheap on the cap. We only owe him like $605,000 this year for the rest of the year. We can cut him, say it doesn't work out or whatever. He's going to be 33 next year. We could cut him with no dead cap money next year. He does have an option. If we were to accept all that, then he would count like $5.5 million on next year's cap, and then he would have dead money of $5.5 million on 2026 cap, just the way it's structured with the void years, the way the Browns did it. The Lions could also just restructure a deal too, just cut him and then get a new deal if Za'Darius likes it here. I like the idea of him being here next year, opposite of Hutch. And if you're Zadarius, you're going to go from, Myles Garrett on one side, and then you go into another great situation. You're going to have Hutch on the other side. So, it's
making his life easier, right?
Yeah, exactly. Make your job a little easier. So very happy the trade happened. We'll see how much it plays into this week. But as he grows with the defense and, gets used to the scheme, I expect him to be a great piece of that defense. He's not an answer that we replace Hutch 1-to-1, but he is going to hopefully provide some extra pressure and help our run game, because our run game has been kind of gashed a little bit here in the last couple weeks, and a lot of that's due to just depth issues. Pascal's been out. We lost Wingo last game. Had some stuff in the linebacker room. Malcolm Rodriguez hurt. So we've had some other things that might contribute to that, but losing Hutch was big in the run game, as well as, in creating ungodly amounts of pressure. So I'm glad to get Za'Darius here. I'm excited to see him in the Honolulu Blue. And that's all I got to say on that. Anything else you want to add, Jacob?
No, I mean, just honestly, if he can have half as much of an impact as Hutch had, it would be huge and, greatly needed. So,
yep.
He's good at, getting the pressures. He's got 5 sacks this year, but I think I saw he was like top 20 in pressures or something like that. So, I mean, he's still got it. He's still going to be an impact player.
Right. It'll be interesting because he wasn't going to get doubled at all, with Myles Garrett in Cleveland. So he's going to probably get a lot more attention in Detroit. So curious about that. But if he does, then that frees up our other side, right? I mean, that gives Pascal more one-on-ones and more one-on-ones for Aleem, or however they want to do it. So just making that line, just increasing talent there. And the Lions feel pretty confident in his culture fit. And from what Dan Campbell said in his press conference, that he checked all the boxes. He interviewed a lot of people, and he goes, I don't think all 20 of those people would have lied to me. So that I'm excited. We'll see him on Sunday, hopefully. What are the impact players that we're going to see from the Texans on Sunday, Jacob?
All right, Houston Texans impact players. First one I got to mention is somebody that doesn't look like he's going to play, but that's wide receiver Nico Collins. Is actually the number 1 rated wide receiver on Pro Football Focus right now. He was leading the league in all kinds of receiving categories before he went down with an injury. As of right now, he still has not been activated yet, so I would think at this point that he's not going to play. I know they're kind of, going back and forth. They're not giving too much information about it, but outside of Nico Collins, quarterback C.J. Stroud, 17th rated quarterback on Pro Football Focus. He was also number 20 this year on the NFL Top 100 list. Running back Joe Mixon, number 11 rated running back. He's averaging 4.8 yards per carry. Definitely been a huge piece of the team. Laremy Tunzel, 18th rated offensive tackle. Daniel Hunter, 15th rated edge defender. He actually was also on the NFL Top 100, number 68. He's got 5.5 sacks. And on the other side of him, you have Will Anderson Jr., 18th rated edge. He's got 7.5 sacks. 2 very good edge defenders. Will we see both of them? We don't know. Injuries are definitely affecting them right now. Outside of that, we have Neville Hewitt, 19th rated linebacker, and Aziz Al-Shair, which is the 16th rated linebacker. So, they got a good mix. A few offensive, a few defensive impact players. Definitely some notable names, and if they are all able to go, definitely have our work cut out for us this week. What do you think?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, The edges on the defense, just the names alone and the production that they put up, they're going to make you sweat a little bit. But I like our tackles. Taylor Decker is going to have his work cut out for him. But before we get on we'll save that for the keys of victory. But we'll talk where are the Texans at this year. They're 6-3 right now. They're first place in the AFC South. They got wins at the Colts, Bears, Jags. They beat the Bills, beat the Pats, and they beat Colts again. So they beat them twice. But the losses are in the NFC North. They've lost to the Vikings and the Packers. And then they, everyone saw them lose last week on Thursday Night Football to the Jets. So, they're going to be hungry because they just lost. They had like that mini bye, whatever, because they played last Thursday. Had a little more time to plan for the Lions. We'll see if that comes in handy for them or not. All right, the aforementioned injury report. You want to hit on the Texans? Quite extensive list.
Here we go. We got a long one for the Texans. They got a lot going on right now. We already mentioned Nico Collins. He's still on IR right now. But this is the most current practice or estimated practice report that we have. This is as of Wednesday night. Will Anderson Jr., Derek Barnett, Kenyon Green, Dylan Horton, Damian Pierce all did not practice. Getting in limited practice, Aziz Al-Shair, Jake Hansen, Jerry Hughes, another edge defender. Shaq Mason is their starting guard. Larini Tunzel got a limited practice. They're calling it due to rest. Still notable. Former Lion Jeff Okuno, quad injury, limited practice. Safety Jimmy Ward, and then another offensive lineman, Jarrett Patterson, still dealing with a concussion, but he actually got in a full practice.
Yep.
Very lengthy list. A lot of starters on here, a lot of impact players. Most notably, I guess, outside of the edge defenders is the fact that a lot of offensive linemen are listed on here, and they already are kind of thin on the line. So it's going to be interesting to see what combination that they use and where they're going to play.
Yeah, they were very weak on the line. CJ Stroud is getting a lot of pressure, and you keep changing those parts up front. It's makes a tough go, right? For the Lions, our list is pretty good, comparatively speaking. We have two linebackers on there that did not practice. That's Jalen Reeves-Maybin and Malcolm Rodriguez. The other player that didn't practice was Zadarius Smith, just on, no rest, no injury, or just rest, no injury. Dan said that, he'll arrive on Friday. Getting a full practice as Broderick Martin. He's in his second week of the practice window, so they'll have one more week before they have to decide what they want to do with him. But starting the practice window out of IR was kind of a surprise to Iffy. Got a full practice in today. And E-Man, Emmanuel Mosley came back, started their windows. They got 3 weeks to, decide whether to bring him back from IR or have to cut him or try to get him on the practice squad, which probably both those players aren't going to make it to practice squad. Pascal was a full practice today. Said today that he was out for the last 2 weeks because during his cancer screening, he had cancer in college. So he has a routine cancer screen. They found a mass in his shoulder. Non-cancerous, it turns out, but they had to remove it nonetheless. And that's why he was out for 2 weeks. But sounds like he's going to be back. Vaki, who was out last week, got in a full practice. And Makai Wingo, defensive line, full practice. That's going to help our depth on defensive line. As we talked in the Packers game, we had, various parts in that game. We had people that weren't on, either practice squad players or players that weren't on the team 3 weeks ago. So hopefully we get some more familiar names back on there. I really hope Malcolm can play. I think we need healthy linebackers. So I'm hoping that Malcolm could play. Sounds like Germs, he played through that injury last week. So I'm going to expect him to suit up, but we'll see how it goes. Anything you want to add on that, Jacob?
Just definitely, it's going to be huge to get that defensive line depth back. And, Iffy, finally, just somebody we were very highly anticipating making his debut, and we've just been waiting. Haven't been much news on that front. And for Mosley, too. I mean, those are two potentially huge pieces to a secondary that's already playing at a very high level. So that's awesome.
People might wonder what they're going to do E-Man. Well, E-Man was going to be our starting nickel before he got injured. So Meek has been up and down. I would say it's been good, but I think, he hasn't been I wouldn't say great, but he's been good. But Emmanuel Mosley was going to be our starting nickel, so you might see him in there. They even tried Iffy in training camp at nickel because are you going to remove Brian Branch from the safety spot? You're not going to move Kirby or Branch. I mean, they're number one, number two
right? No,
safeties. I mean, you can't move that. And I mean, the other option would be put Iffy back at safety and then move Brian Branch back up to the nickel. But I don't see that that's a smart move because Brian's making so many plays back there. So it's going to be interesting. Are we going to, in the playoffs last year, we tried to do a little more 3 safety sets, which essentially makes, Iffy could come up and play like pseudo linebacker. The thing that intrigues me about Iffy coming back is he showed a really good talent at blitzing the quarterback last year. Whether that was surprising teams and now they can play, know that's part of his game, they might be able to, scheme for that a little bit. But with the injury to Hutch, getting any sort of pressure, additional pressure would be helpful.
I know. That's awesome, though. I mean, that's what, at the beginning of the season, that's what we wanted to see is how they were going to utilize that. And, are they going to line Iffy up at nickel? Sometimes you send him, sometimes you don't. Is there going to be times where Branch lines up at nickel and then you drop Iffy? Are they both going to be on opposite sides of the line? They're both going to drop. Maybe one goes, maybe they both go. There's so many different possibilities that you can do. It's very exciting that it's finally, going to be coming time soon. Even if he plays this week, him and E-Man both are going to, take some time to get back to full game speed and everything like that. Yeah. So they're going to be out there for, 80% of the snaps right away. But I mean, it's just an awesome sign that they're both practicing in full.
Yeah, I don't expect them. The window just opened. It's going to take a little bit to get into football.
It might be the full time.
I think it'll be the full time for both of those players. The Lions seem to take that. The only thing that would speed up that process is an injury that we'd have to replace someone.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob. Talk about the Texans' offensive rankings, and then I'll hit on their defensive rankings, and then we'll go into our interview.
All right. Offensive rankings for the Texans. Pro Football Focus has them rated as the 12th best offense in football right now. They are 17th in points per game. They are 11th in total yards per game. That breaks down 13th in passing yards per game and 11th in rushing yards per game. So they are towards, the top half of the league. This is one of the better teams that we're playing. We already knew about the offense. What do you got for the defense now?
Yeah, thing I'll just say about the offense, balanced, right? I mean, they can attack you both ways. But the defense, Pro Football Focus has a middle of the pack 16th. They allow 14th most points per game, but in yardage, they're the second highest in yardage. So they don't allow very much yards. Very good at passing, 3rd in the league, and 12th in rushing. It's going to be a tough defense, but they have a tough offense they got to face. So I don't think they've seen anything like the Lions this year, and we'll see how that goes. And then they're dealing with, if Will Anderson doesn't play, that's going to make
that's huge.
Yeah, it'll be huge. So, without further ado, we're going to hit up our interview with Stephanie Stradley. Hope you guys enjoy this, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, everybody. Talking Grit interview time. We're going to talk to Stephanie Stradley. She wants to be called Steph. We're on a friendly basis here on this show. So, Steph, when I talked to her, I said, "How do you want to be described?" She goes, she's self-described as hard to describe when she told me. So she's does a lot of stuff. She's a Texans writer for the Houston Chronicle, long time. We are glad to have you on the show, Steph. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really excited about this game. Like this is the game of the week. It's Sunday Night Football. There's a lot of years where the Houston Texans didn't have primetime games because we're we're the newest franchise, but yet there's Texans all over the globe and into space. So there's a lot of people excited about this season because, Texas is football. I mean, no offense, your head coach is Texan. Aaron Glenn is a very favorite Texan from the early days where they were having to overcome a lot of things. So yeah, very excited for Sunday Night Football. And, most of the Texans games are noon kickoffs, which can be a challenge with tailgates. And some of us are pretty good with our breakfast tacos in the morning, but a nighttime tailgate in Houston, Texas is very special, and I can't wait to see it. And just also the game.
Yeah.
I imagine last year was a pleasant surprise for Texans fans, with the rookies and everything, with having the success. So how has it been as a fan to come into greater expectations this year?
Well, that is a curious question to me, because when D'Amico Ryans was hired and he said all the things that he was going to do, and the first thing that he said he was going to do is hire a professional staff of teachers that have good experience in the NFL, like varied experience. And so you have older people and younger people and lots of NFL experience at their particular roles. And to me, I had watched that camp very closely, hit the first camp. And the first camp, when I saw CJ Stroud, it was just kind of a little bit like that, and you don't want to have too high hopes on depending on a lot of rookies. But my first year writing for the Houston Chronicle, that was D'Amico Ryans' first year as a linebacker. Now, linebacker is a position that if you're good at, you can get really good at it fast. And he was rookie of the year. So or defensive rookie of the year. And so he has experience knowing that rookies, if given any kind of opportunity and good teaching, can thrive right away. Now, not everybody is D'Amico Ryans, but his expectations were really high. That camp was pretty amazing. Now, that was a last place schedule. They had the second pick in the draft, and then they got the third pick in the draft. So they got actually two of the projected, maybe 6 elite players in that draft, because they weren't going to be like, we're going to stay patient. Like, no, NFL careers are really short. People want to win. And that was a serious camp. And that team, it did not surprise me that team played well, because they have a lot of the elements that you would want to see in winning football. They have supportive ownership that lets the football people do the football, like the anti-Jerry Jones thing that they had. Nick Caserio was in a bad situation when he first got here because of kind of holes that were digged out from people before. So Nick Caserio, though, is a very experienced GM, and he can do, he knows everybody. He can make all sorts of transactions. D'Amico Ryans, a very well-respected guy. I like the staff. I like some of the players that they already had that were hard workers, but maybe weren't in the best situations. And then they added a lot of people. Now, if we're going to this year, you don't have the 4th place schedule. You have the 1st place schedule. You happen to be playing a very strong, it turns out, NFC North, and a lot of good defenses in the NFC North. And as all coaches will say, you can't project, hey, you did this last year, you're going to do it this year. So every year is different. And this is a year that they have been challenged with some significant injuries, like all teams. But you probably don't want Nico Collins, who is, led the league in receptions, going down with a hamstring. It's been unfortunate to see what happened with Stephon Diggs, who's shown a lot of leadership with the team, and he's out with an ACL injury for the whole year. And so they have been dealing with challenges. They still have a pretty decent record despite those challenges. They haven't been very good on the road. They have been pretty good at home. And they're hoping that the home situation's a little better for dealing with their offensive line, because they did the most challenging thing that you could do, which is, they had an inexperienced quarterback meshed with an inexperienced center, and then also an inexperienced left guard all at the same time. Now, that is taking on a challenge. And there's been times in the season where they haven't been able to do it. And so right now, where the Texans are on offense is really, can they handle pressure? And the teams are going to keep showing unorthodox pressures until the Texans can show that they can deal with it. They have switched out who their left guard's going to be, because he went down in the last game with injury. So I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know. They have a lot of promising parts on their offensive line. They've invested a ton on their offensive line. They have parts of their offensive line that are good. Their right guard is showing in the most recent injury report as being hurt. And it really, in some ways, I'll go back to the Lions, kind of a back to the future thing. One of the best early seasons for the Texans was 2012. They had a big start of that season, and then they played 2 games in a row with a Sunday game that went into overtime and a Thursday game against the Lions on Thanksgiving. And that injury report after that game was horrific. And the team was never the same after that. Well, this week's injury report is not great. Will Anderson Jr. Has an ankle. He did not practice today. The team's not commenting very much on him. Nico Collins, there are reports that his hamstring's looking good, but he has not been reactivated off of the IR yet. So there's uncertainty, but like any result of this game would not surprise me because these teams play very hard. You guys have kind of a head start on kind of the rebuild, and people had their thoughts about like what you guys were doing. But each year is different. Each game is different. The matchups are different. And, the Texans are getting healthy at some positions. They are really working on this offensive line issue. They've had 10 days to or they will have had 10 days by the time this next game happens to get better and figure some things out. And they don't like some of the noise that's being said about them because there was all these ambitious views of how their offense was going to play with CJ Stroud. And he actually has done some pretty amazing things, given some of, the injuries and, having to switch guys out in the middle of the games. But, we'll see. I mean, we really don't know. Like everybody keeps on saying, we haven't seen the best of the Texans yet. They haven't shown consistently some of the things that they've been able to do in pockets, and their second halves of games have been kind of disappointing, possibly because, sometimes their defense has been playing pretty well and maybe they're not taking as many risks as they might do if their defense was playing poorer.
I'm going to stick with the player you just mentioned, CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
How has he grown from in year 2 from year 1, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I think part of it is, guys don't step into a situation and pretend like they are Mr. Man. So like, but guys gravitated towards him right away. Last year he wasn't named the starting quarterback until like right before the season started. And some people are like, oh no, it's pretty obvious he's going to be the guy. Why aren't you saying he's the guy? And part of it was, a lot of that's marketing, but like, it would be easier to market or, it'd be easier for fantasy teams. And it's like, really, what the real situation is from the coaching perspective and from his perspective, he wanted to earn it and he did earn it. And, there are other situations where rookies were kind of anointed that pretty early in camp and then didn't follow through on that. So, I mean, that's the way that they chose to develop CJ. If you look at his game, the things that he does the best, other than just his, people gravitating to him as just a leader, is he is really, really accurate. Like if he has any kind of time at all, he can throw darts. And that was actually the first thing that I noticed about him. The other thing is just how fast he learns things. It's like, I remember in his first camp, he was doing some stuff that looked very rookie. And then the next camp, I never saw him do that again. And he looked more composed than a lot of very experienced quarterbacks who have cycled over through the Texans over many, many years. Like, you're like, this is really exciting. This year, he's had the bigger challenges because he's been facing some defenses on the road that have given him challenges. And then he had what I was telling you before was, the issues with, maybe the offensive line not giving him enough time and having people in his kitchen right away. And a lot of it was like, delays, things coming or, rushes coming, like not stunts, and then like maybe unorthodox kinds of blitzes. And the offensive line didn't handle it very well. Sometimes you could question whether he was seeing where the ball was supposed to go. Sometimes you might question the play calling. It's like, well, does he have really good outlets? And he's seeing some things that teams are challenging him on more. And he comes across as an extraordinarily sharp guy. And there is the point of view that even though the numbers may not be as good on some things as they were last year, the things that he's being asked to do is more. And he's wanted that. Like, that's something that he's asked for throughout time. And, one of the things that stood out last year is, he was really good with his first read. Now they're kind of focusing on, okay, let's get beyond kind of like first read things. Other thing that he's really good at is he's pretty good with like his eye direction and directing where defenses are going to go. But like, this is going to be a slugfest. I mean, really the biggest fear in Houston is that CJ Stroud's going to get hurt before they figure out their offensive line things. And, they just keep on hitting like, whatever you think about the Jets, their defense puts it on people. And you don't want to have that happen to you at MetLife Field when you're playing on cement. Mm-hmm. So, he survived that. Like, really, to me, I was looking at the Wednesday injury report to see if there was any surprise guys that, got hurt. We weren't aware that they were hurt. They're pretty quiet about like letting people know, injury status, which is, what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. Hold your cards close to your vest there.
Yeah, there were a couple of plays in that game where CJ Stroud was kind of slow to get up. And I'm sure everybody in Houston's holding their breath, like, please don't go down like this.
Well, and sometimes people have gotten pretty angry about it and kind of unfair about it. And I don't like to go into that too much because really the team itself, they don't want the fans to go this way. And obviously, people are like, oh, we need to protect CJ. Well, the offensive linemen want to protect CJ. Now, if they're able to do that is a different question. And that's on the coaching staff to put people in good positions. If a guy's asked to be a starter, he's going to start. But, if he's not capable of doing that, or they're giving him too much to, do, then that's on the coaching staff to get somebody better at that position. And there's a lot of, people, there's that tension between urgency and desperation. And you have to have right urgency to do stuff and not do, like try to fix one thing and make another thing worse. And that is probably the hardest thing to do, particularly when you're switching guys out because of injuries during the game, and it happens for everybody. And some people are more prepared to do that than other people. And you just don't know until you do it. Like, some of these things are hard to test. Like, offensive line in particular is really hard to test. Like, let's say you don't have guys that are healthy and you're not really doing real hitting in training camp, and they don't have preseasons as long as they used to have them. And guys aren't in very long during those preseasons anyway. So you are seeing if your offensive line can handle the load in real time and hoping that you're really good and promising quarterback doesn't get hurt in the meantime.
All right, we're going to stick on the offensive side here. So how has the addition of Joe Mixon improved the offense? As of right now, he has matched last year's rushing touchdown total of your top running backs, I believe.
Yeah. Sometimes you see players that come through and they just have a way about them. And, some of them are famous players because you're fantasy football guys, and some of them aren't. But like Joe Mixon is a special guy. Like, if you've played with him in fantasy football before, he was pretty dependable guy. And just me watching as an NFL person, like, I really loved his ability to, if it's third and short or your goal line, he just finds a way. And, he's already won the angry runner of the year deal. And yeah, a lot of blocking is, or a lot of the running game is like, how do you block it? And is your quarterback a threat? But then some of it is just some running backs just have good want to. And he's a sharp guy. He's a good competitor. He's a good teammate. His teammates love him. And, you can block it the way you want, but unless somebody has really great vision, it's not going to come through. And so far this year, when he's been healthy, he's been amazing. Like he has definitely stood out and has created a different kind of dimension for the team, because you can't just, assume that the running game is going to not do anything. And that assumption has been there for kind of a while. Like last year was a struggle. The year before, Dameon Pierce, was pretty much the whole show, but that was kind of more through just kind of personal effort, it seemed. But Joe Mixon seems to know the assignment and is really kind of a steadying player on that offense, that it depends so much on rookies and young players that you need kind of like a steadying force that as they put in today's presser, that, he's willing to just call people out, including CJ, because he just wants everybody to be better. And when you have a team where people are honest with each other in ways that are respectful, that's what real teammates are about, where you know each other well enough, like brothers, where you can give each other a little bit of nonsense and it's not taken in a particular way, because some places you can't be honest, or some places honesty isn't rewarded. And that can happen over time, because, sometimes you can have kind of like a toxic positivity where you're supposed to be positive no matter what, and people are afraid of being honest about what's going on. And I don't see that with this team. Like, they definitely like good vibes, and who doesn't? But I think if you stay honest with each other for the purposes of making each other better, and that people know that, everybody has each other's back, like that's, as they say, football is a people business and a relationship business. And that's the most important part is, do people have trust in different aspects of what they're doing, that know that if we follow what we're supposed to do, then it puts us in the best possibility to win.
What do you think key to victory for the Texans is going to be this week?
Just playing their best football. Like, they haven't done it all together at the same time. Like, they've had some outstanding special teams weeks where they're making like really long kicks. The punts are going well. The punt coverage is going well. And then they've had weeks where it's like, what happened there? And on the defense, like the defense will play very well for a time and then, just have a busted play. The offense will score early and you're like, oh yeah, they finally have gotten their thing together where, they're just marching down the field and there's nothing that the defense can do to stop this. And then it's like somebody let the air out of the tire and then it's gone. So like they just have to play 4 quarters of football. And that's really hard when, this is going to be probably, if I'm guessing, one of the more physical matchups in the regular season.
Yeah, it will be. There's a thing called the Honolulu flu, and that's we're the Honolulu blue color, right?
Yeah.
So Honolulu flu. Up until the Texans game last week, every time the team played the Lions, they had lost the following week, and they attributed it to you're playing for 4 quarters, and you got to play tough football.
Well, and that was kind of the reputation of D'Amico Ryan's 49ers defenses. Philosophically, they want to put it on people and they want to get interceptions and they want to strip balls. So, this is going to be a game that, I don't know what the keys to the game are. Like, I think it's just going to be like a slugfest. And then let's see who gets on the other side of the slugfest and can take advantage of it. But all I know is I've been telling people for a while to go to their doctors and get their meds filled and stuff, because this Texans team has had so many close games. And then the close victories have been amazing. Now, I can't say that I like the Packers loss. I was actually in Dallas, and my sister doesn't have like normal TV. And I'm like, I'd rather go to a bar anyway. And so I said, where should I go? And they're like, well, there's a really good Packers bar down the street. And then I'm like, I think I'd rather hang out with Packers fans than hang out with Cowboys fans just because of some of the logistics in this part of the world. And they were delightful people, as probably more delightful to me than they might be to y'all. But losing that game at the very end, that was not good. I did have a lot of shots set my way because I was the only Texan fan in this whole bar, but that's kind of fun.
Got to drown your sorrows there again. Yeah, we were counting on you guys to take the Pack down, and you let us down.
Well, I mean, it's a game of inches. Parity league, and just one play this way, one play that way, and we can talk about scripts, that kind of nonsense. But yeah, I mean, you can't, like when players are like, you can't get too high and you can't get too low. It's like, yeah, because it's a long season. It's a real long season, and you just never know what will happen to a team. Like one team will be flying high, and then something bad happens to a key player, and then they're not quite the same. And, it's hard to fix things in season. Like the best teams are able to fix things in season and then kind of play stronger as you progress in the year. And for the Texans, that's going to be pretty difficult because, yes, they have more games against like the Titans and the Jaguars, but then they have a 10-game stretch where they're playing the Dolphins, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. Which, like, really, what did the Texans do to you, NFL, to make that happen?
Yeah.
Part of the schedule, but it's a test, and really, as you get in the playoffs, and then anything can happen, including good things.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, those are your tests during the season to get you ready for the playoffs, right? Because I mean, those are the teams you're going to be playing in the playoffs: Ravens, Chiefs. I mean, if you
and I think to be the best, you gotta beat the best. I know that's a phrase, but if you're being
all right. So this upcoming game, Lions, what makes you nervous about the Lions? What scares you most about this team that Texans are about to face?
I gotta tell you, and maybe this comes from my job. I'm not a fear baby. I'm not afraid. I don't get stressed about it. Like these are grown man people doing grown man jobs. And if these teams played 10,000 times, there would be 10,000 different results. So, but clearly, the Lions are going to test the Texans offense until the Texans offense can show that they can handle stunts and blitzes. Like CJ Stroud is getting like ridiculous amounts of pressure, and he's going to continue to get that until they can punish more teams for it. I'm just really, I can't say I'm afraid of it, but yeah, I wonder how both teams are going to come out of this game, because these teams will compete, and there may be parts of this game that look kind of ugly. Where, maybe there's some big plays that happen, but maybe there's some strips that happen, or maybe there's some weird special team things that happen because both teams really care about that because they're football teams and they care about every aspect of football and every way that you can compete. So I know some people are kind of like, oh, well, CJ Stroud, survived this game. It's like, well, he's a grown man. Part of that's on him. Part of that's on the line. Part of that's on his running backs. Part of that's on his tight ends. And he might not have like all the ideal pieces and parts in place, but who does? They got to compete. And, nobody needs to be fear babies about football. Like, there's plenty of actual things to be, concerned about, I guess. Like, car wreck or something, but like you can't drive around the road like, oh, somebody's going to hit me. Well, I mean, yeah, it could happen.
Yep.
You just can't live your life that way. And that's no fun way to watch football. Like, oh, I'm scared that bad things are going to happen. Well, shoot, I have survived 2 decades of all sorts of crazy stuff I've seen on a football field. I am not afraid of one of the best teams, the NFC, competing against one of the best teams in the AFC, and I hope they get to do it again in New Orleans. That could be fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, I would make sure to make that as much of a Houston East experience that it could possibly be. But, we'll see about that.
Yeah, you got a much shorter trip, I think, over to New Orleans and
Oh, yeah. And it's fun. I got to tell you, a New Orleans Super Bowl, any Super Bowl would be great, but I've done it. I did the Beyonce Super Bowl in the biggest way you could possibly do it. And it took me about a month to recover. It was fun. They don't shut their bars down. Like their bars stay open late and the parties go late. And then you're just like, and if your team's not in the Super Bowl, you show up on Sunday and you're just like, okay, damn this. I mean, you're not sad. You're just kind of, you got to train for it. Like all of my sports training right now is just to make sure that I can do all the stuff that I want to do football party wise. Like that's my job. Like, yeah, I can talk about the football, but my job is to enjoy whatever this journey we're on. And as you are in a history, it's hard to know what it is. Like this is part of like whatever whatever team ends up in the Super Bowl. Like this was the sad part of the season, and then this was, and like you don't know what it is when you're in it, and when people are like, well, this is definitely going to happen. Like maybe, but I got to tell you, right is overrated. Like whether you were right about something in the past, so what? Okay, well, what's going to happen next? Like what's going to happen next, and what can you do about it? And for most of us, all we can do about it is like, have a beverage, it's water, stay hydrated.
Nice.
All right, Jacob.
All right. Yep, one more. So
All right.
any predictions for the game? It doesn't have to be about the final score. It can be anything stat related or just anything that you think is going to happen. If you had to make a prediction about the game, what's something you see happening here?
I think it's going to be a weird game. Like Sunday night football games are weird anyway. And when you have two very physical teams, you're going to see some weird stuff go down. Everybody's going to pull out their extra stuff that they might have. And what I can guarantee you 100% is that tailgate's going to be bumping.
Yeah.
People show up early for that tailgate. There's going to be a lot of people out there. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of Lions fans because you guys were pretty excited about this season early. And in Houston, we have people from all over the country that live here, and they might have, like we have a lot of like dual fans because a lot of us, if you're a certain age, the Texans weren't your first team. That wasn't your choice. That was somebody else's choice. So we're making our own history, and there's a lot of transplants in the Houston area. So they might have their one team that they root for, and then they root for the Texans because it's kind of special rooting for the team in the place where you live and just being around and people are uplifted by the good things that are happening. And we can't control that good things happen during the actual game, but what we can control is how fun the tailgate is. And it is like, it's like nothing else because each tailgate's never the same thing. People bring different foods. And once it's at our table, it's Texan food because we have all the foods in Houston. We have all the beverages in Houston. And then any number of kinds of people show up. We've had former players, people with the team, longtime fans from decades past, new fans. Our second generation of fans are now getting old enough that they're sentient, go to games their own selves, which is special for us because, we are creating this in real time. We are the first generation. And frankly, I would prefer that it was this year. I already went to Andre Johnson being the first Houston Texan inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. And that was an amazing experience. And the way that he put it to us is he was doing that for all of us. He was our first guy there. And the people, the players now, they got to watch this happening. And the players that played with him got to watch this happen. And they were a part of it. And it's nice to kind of go, yeah, this is what can happen. And he put the whole city on his back, and he still lives here. And it was special. And so he understands that he's making our history, and we're all making our history together. And I got to tell you, I was at I lived here during the time where the Rockets had their championships, and I've experienced the more recent Astros championships and a Houston championship celebration. Everybody's friends, and it's usually too hot to riot or something stupid like that. And everybody kind of gets along, and it has a nice time, and it's just a beautiful experience. And that is the beauty of the unifying nature of sports. And we can't make that happen every week because, you have to go through a whole season, but you get that kind of sensation in tailgates, and in our tailgates in particular are some of the most generous experiences that I've ever seen. People just, people might have some hard things going on in their lives, but when they show up there and people love on them and they gas each other up, like, how are we going to do? And eat all the food and drink all the drinks and root their team on, and then hopefully come back out to the tailgate. It's like, wasn't that great? Let's pop some champagne. And I mean, the Texans had a playoff game this year, home playoff game, their first year, because of various accidents of the schedule. And like, we weren't, and that's how our year started. That's how our 2024 started. It started with a playoff victory, which that was a tailgate post game that historic. And then, we had Canton, and this season has been more of a challenge than some people thought. But as coaches say, every year is its own experience, and you can't count that the same things that went right for you last year keep on going right, because each year is different. The team composition's different, but it's real exciting. I gotta say, and I'm excited for you guys, because teams shouldn't have to endure bad football for too long. It hurts the soul, and it hurts the city.
It does. I'm with you. All right, Steph, before we get out of here, where can people find your stuff online, and what are you up to? What are you writing about right
now? Right now I'm just kind of picking my spots on how to help fans out. So like, you doing this podcast is going to be real excited to some of the people who are in the tailgate or want to come to the tailgate. And, I will tell you, Detroit fans who are listening, if you're going to be at the game, you're welcome to come to our tailgate. Or they have this thing in between NRG Stadium and the Astrodome called Boulevard, and they have different events there if you want to do things before the game. But the tailgate experience is special. A lot of the tailgates are welcoming to fans of other teams, as long as they're generally cool and good guests. And the main place that you see my stuff is on X, and I have a pinned tweet that says where our particular tailgate is, and you can find me on whatever socials by my name at Steph Stradley. I don't think I'm going to be writing something this week, but you never know. But I put a lot of the content out on Twitter just because it's a real-time way to find out what's happening with sports. And, you can kind of control your own experience by who you follow. And if you follow lots of really good people on Twitter, you can get a pretty good understanding of what's going on with a lot of different teams. And what I appreciate about the Lions is a lot of your OG fans in the digital world don't always write about the Lions anymore. They had to write about NFL in general, because at some point we can only write the same story over and over again about, like, the Lions were not good this year. But I'm excited for those people because, it's fun watching fun football. Like, it's the best, it's the best feeling in the world. Like when you see things working, whether it's defense or like any special thing, it's cool. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. We're living our best life right now, and it's good.
Enjoy that ride.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure.
All right, Steph, thanks for coming on, and maybe we'll see you in New Orleans in the Super Bowl, right?
Cool.
That would be amazing.
All right. Do you think Stephanie went to tailgate right from the interview. Like she was ready to
It's
go.
probably right outside her house. She lives right down there, right?
Yeah.
She's all about the tailgate.
She is. She loves the tailgate. So that's great. It's great to see passionate fans, especially knowledgeable, passionate fans, get up for their team. So I know that it sounds like she's, excited for everything that's coming on Sunday. So
She's been a fan since before they played their first game. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. She was probably sitting at the ribbon cutting, ceremony for the stadium. So, but great interview. So Jacob, after listening to the interview, after everything that we talked about, let's get into our keys of victory. I'm going to let you start off first. Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to start with my offensive key to victory, and that's going to be protect the football. I think we stick to what's working and just rely on the great rushing attack that we have. But, we have to protect the football, let Goff keep doing what he's doing. He's been making good reads. He's been making good throws. If we stick to that game plan like that every week, then we are in every single game. That's the recipe for success. It's been working for us. Another thing, though, I do think that we are going to try to get JMO involved. Maybe take some deep shots if they're there, but, ideally we keep running the ball, wearing the defense out, taking these shots when they come in. Week in and week out, it's working for us. So until a team comes in that's able to just shut down our rushing attack, we just need to keep doing it. We already talked about Will Anderson may not play. Daniel Hunter is a great player, but he's much better in the pass game than in the run game. He's obviously got plenty of experience playing against the Lions, but I think the run game is going to work, and I think we just keep wearing them down the same way that we have been week in and week out.
Yeah, I agree. Mine is get to third and manageable. Do not let the defense blitz you. They have the highest blitz rate on third down in the league. They also had the highest six-man blitz rate in the league on third down. So you don't want to be, 3rd and 7+ with this team because, it may be a little weaker without Will Anderson there. But like you said, Daniel Hunter is a player in this league, and you don't want to just let him, pin his ears back and go. So we got to use the run game, be in short pass game, get to third and manageable, and let them guess what we're going to do. Because as we've seen in every game, the past 2 seasons, 3rd and 5+ is not a passing down for the Lions. It can be a rundown and it'd be a successful rundown. So they have good linebackers and the Texans lineup. Their edge players are good. Their interior defensive line is not that good. And I think we could gash them a little bit and just getting in where they're going to have to play their guessing game. And like you said, if they start pulling their linebackers up to stop that, that's when the JMO show happens and we shoot something. That or Amon-Ra over the middle, doing. D'Amico Ryan's going to have this defense ready to play, but I think there's definitely ways to attack it.
Definitely. I mean, they're not very good at stopping the 4th down conversion. And obviously that's what we do. Like we like going for it on 4th down. If we have a 4th and short situation, we're going to go for it. Especially like you talked about with their, the weaker kind of the inside of their defensive line. Even if they're stacking the box, they have given up, 9 conversions on 12 attempts for 4th down this year.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm sure I don't have a number in front of me, but I'm sure most of those are probably within the first, 2 or 3 yards away from the first down. So,
yep,
we just stick to our run game, and I think that we're going to be okay.
Yes, I agree. What's your next key to victory, Jacob?
All right, so flipping it over on the defensive side of the ball, I think it should be obvious right now, but the Vikings kind of gave teams the blueprint for how to beat the Houston team. The advantage that Minnesota had is that Joe Mixon didn't play that week. So the Texans didn't have a rushing attack, but, the Vikings kept the heat on CJ Stroud and they fell apart. Stroud's a very accurate quarterback when he has time. He's a very good quarterback when he, as most players are in the NFL, but particularly him, just, once the pressure's on, the heat's on, that's when things start to unravel. So I think slowing down Joe Mixon is going to be huge. He's going to get probably 25 to 30 touches in this game, assuming that it stays close and they don't have to start throwing the ball more. But, if we are able to keep Mixon limited and find ways to keep pressuring CJ Stroud, I see no reason that Kirby or Branch, might not. They'll get another interception this week. We'll, flip the field a couple times. We have no rain or wind or anything to worry about. It's funny because the Texans last week were playing outdoors too. So I think both teams are probably relieved to be playing back inside the dome and playing more comfortable, playing your best football. After what happened with Branch, he's back. He's hungry to make up for last week. The Texans receivers have dealt with a lot of injuries, so they don't have their best offense out there. So, I mean, other than Tank Dell, I don't think that C.J. Stroud has the, connection with the other guys anyway. So that's going to be important, is utilizing our run defense, also shutting down Joe Mixon and then pressuring C.J. Stroud.
Yep, I'm right there with you. We're going to try to make them one-dimensional so that we can attack C.J. Stroud through blitzes. And that's going to be stopping Joe Mixon and getting them into obvious passing situations. And, C.J. Stroud can run. So we got, if we're going to stop the run game, that includes C.J. Stroud, limiting that. You're not going to be able to stop it totally. It's just the way it is. But, if we bring in Za'Darius or whoever we got playing the edges, got to hold the edge, maintain rush lanes. If he's going to have to run, make him run the long way out. I expect us to get a fair amount of pressure on CJ Stroud. I expect AG to blitz often in this game. We've talked about the weaknesses on the Texans' offensive line. We're going to have to manufacture pressure just through various stunts, or their stunts will work well too. If you have an inexperienced offensive line, you're hoping for a communication error to happen, and we just, get to CJ Stroud, and hopefully he makes a mistake, because we have mentioned before, he's terribly accurate, and if we give him a lot of time, he's got to pick us apart. If he doesn't have, he's already missing Stephon Diggs because he's out for this season. He's missing, this is a different offense if they have Nico Collins. So if he doesn't play, our road becomes a little easier. Well, if he plays, our, Terrion and CD will be ready for the challenge.
For sure. We're robbed by the fact that Hutch is not able to play in this game, though. This is one of those games where Hutch could have had, 3 or 4 more sacks, especially, you got the Hutch in Michigan, CJ Stroud, Ohio State storyline and everything like that, too. Sucks, but, hey, if Zadarius is going to play, maybe he makes an impact, maybe he gets a sack right away.
It'd be nice to get him, that'd endear you to the city, right? Get traded.
Yeah, right.
Back right away. I'm sure he's going to want to. We'll see how it all works out. My last key to victory is just we need to stay ahead so that they can't just blitz, and because they blitz at a very high rate, and if we can stay ahead, then we become multidimensional, and they can't beat us. I think this goes with any game, but I think it's very critical with this defense and the edge players that they have that we need to just stay ahead. That they can't just think we're gonna pass each time.
Yeah, it's weird saying now, but Sam Darnold had a really good game against them, and he was able to figure out the blitz packages and everything like that. And I have full faith in Jared Goff and being able to figure out where these blitzes and everything are coming from. It's just, just a matter of executing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yep. We talk about these teams with injured offensive line. It's so nice to have a healthy, talented offensive line. Just because even if Will Anderson does play, we got Sewell. I feel really good about that side. Taylor Decker's had his struggles, but he will perform. I have utmost confidence in Taylor Decker to get up for the challenge that he has. So it'll be good. Thing that, for on our side is their interior of the Texans line is giving up a ton of sacks. So bet the over on McNeil, whatever, if it's like 0.5 sacks or whatever, I would bet the over on McNeil getting one for this game. And maybe we'll see Reader get one too. But I'm expecting McNeil to have a really good game, especially if Pascal is back and we get more of our pieces on the offensive line, and they can rotate these pieces in and out. I expect McNeil to have a really good game.
Definitely.
This is one that I circled when it first came out. I was like, Sunday Night Football.
Right.
This is a lot. I would expect this to be a very highly rated televised game, just because you got the fun, exciting Lions. Texans are, people like CJ Stroud, and they want to see, they're going to get the chance to see him on, a national televised game. So I'm really excited for this game. I'm not excited for waiting all day for the game. It's just makes it, especially when you start hitting those 4:00 games. You're just like, just really want this game to happen. But once it finally starts, it is exciting, and you're the only game on, and yeah, it's awesome.
All eyes on us.
Yep.
Yeah, primetime matchup on the road, Houston Texans. We, this is obviously one of the bigger ones that we had talked about before. And now here we are in the middle of the season. Texans are rated the ninth best overall team. We're rated number 1. We're not trying to get knocked down off of that anytime soon. And I think it was last year, Dan came out with a quote where, he was talking about being in the top spot, and we're no longer hunting other teams, now we're the ones they're hunting. And he said, if you're hunting us, you won't have to look far. We're going to be on your front porch.
Yes.
And, that's what's happening this week, right? We're going to come to Houston's front porch and try to beat them on their own turf.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to spoil the debut of their brand new their all red chrome jerseys and everything like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going to go all white and do the marshmallow thing again.
I think we're going to, there's certain people on this team that I think are superstitious. And I think that it's going to be all whites again. They're not going to do a mixed match. I mean, you text me and said, would the all blacks look awesome against
it would be amazing if they could do that.
Yeah, I don't know if they can. They get to do it 3 times.
I saw online where they, right. They can do it 3 times, where there's they already have it going on with the Bills. And there's something they do with the Thanksgiving game as counts as an alternate.
Okay.
For something with that. So I think they said they're not able to.
Okay.
I don't know though, but that would be sick. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
All black, all red.
I know.
Plus we have the blue chrome helmet and they have the red chrome. Yeah. Come on, man. Give the people what they want.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Pull the audible, pull them from the Bills game, and just do them this week.
Yeah, right.
No, it's gonna be, Stephanie had mentioned it in the interview. It's gonna be a knockdown, drag out battle. It's gonna be, their team mirrors us a lot with how they're built, through the coaching staff, and they're just gonna play hard, and you're gonna be ready for a football game. I hope it's not like the Arizona game where we got an injury like every other. It just seems like we were going down like crazy. That was a hard fought game. I hope it's tough football, but hopefully we just come out unscathed. It's gonna be fun. We have our game that we like to play: Demo or Gibbs. I had Demo last time. Yeah, Gibbs, so I won. This week is tough. I don't know who to pick. Since I won last week, I get to pick again.
Right.
I'm gonna go Gibbs on this one.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah. What if you would have picked?
You can't go wrong either way.
I know. It's. I mean, there's certain games that you kind of expect one to do better than the other, but yeah. Who would you have picked if you were first?
Actually, would have picked Demo. I think we're going to be running between the tackles up the middle, and he's going to have success there.
I know.
But obviously, anytime Gibbs touches the ball,
I know, gets to the outside and just gives that shimmy shake. I don't know if you saw the interview with Scotty Montgomery a couple weeks ago. He's the running back coach, and they asked him, what's the difference? Why is Gibbs breaking long ones now when he previously didn't? And he said that Gibbs is coming into a plan of expecting it to get to the secondary and knowing what move he's going to use to beat that safety or beat the corner, whoever's out there. And, the Titans, when he just basically, outran the safety to the corner, no one's going to catch him. But in the Vikings run, when he had 45, he did get up to the safety, one-on-one with the safety, gave him the shoulder move, and the safety, just basically fell to the ground and scored. So he was prepared to get to that level. Because we had talked previously on the podcast, it seems like Gibbs was running at 100% speed and just kind of running into defenders sometimes. And it seemed like he has a plan of what he's visualizing what he's going to do or how he's going to attack that secondary, expecting to get to the second level because our offensive line and the wide receivers are providing great blocks for him to get up there.
Definitely.
All right.
Hey, he's getting better and better every week.
He is. It's a scary, when we mentioned Stephanie's the first one. She said she's not afraid of anything. I believe that she's got to be a little scared about running back room.
Yeah.
She just.
I don't think the Texans I don't think they like the word scared.
They
She's
don't.
like, I ain't scared of nothing. I ain't never scared.
I should have worded the question.
You should have said
different.
concerned. She's concerned. Should have been concerned about the running game.
Yeah, I know. I in my young interviewing career here, I've learned the words matter, and I shouldn't have used the word scared.
We're not even 6 months into this thing yet. You'll get it.
No, she picked up on that word right away. She focused right in on the laser focus. Scared? We ain't
Right.
Scared.
Scared.
Ain't nobody scared around here. All right. Well, I think talk about getting scared. I think that you might be getting scared because with our grit picks, I'm catching up to you. Slowly but surely, I'm catching up to you. So let's get into grit picks. We'll review the last week, and then we'll pick our new ones. So let's get on with grit picks.
Grit picks.
All right, Jacob, you want to review what we did last week?
Yeah. I guess if you're going to make me say it.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Last week, Texans and Jets game, I had confidence that the Texans were going to beat the Jets. That did not happen. You did pick the Jets, so you got that one right. I got that one wrong. Outside of that, Colts and Vikings, we both picked the Vikings to win. And Bucks and Chiefs, we both picked the Chiefs to win. That Bucks and Chiefs game was actually a very good game. It was closer than what I thought that was going to be. And, fun fact for you, I lost my fantasy matchup by 1 point. I had Rashad White and Kareem Hunt. And the Bucks, they get the ball, they're driving down. I'm like, please let Rashad White score. Please let Rashad White score. And then it was like, okay, you know what? Anybody score. Just anybody score and get it to overtime. And then they thought about going for 2. So I was like, please don't go for 2. Just kick the extra point. Let's take this to overtime. They get to overtime. The Chiefs drive down and Kareem Hunt scores that touchdown. And I lost by less than a point.
Oh, my gosh.
So, you know what? Whatever, that happens. But it makes, fantasy makes things like that more interesting. It already was a good game, but then I actually had players that I was rooting for in it. So that brings the total this season. I'm 18-8, and you are 16-10, which is still second place.
Yep, I'm getting there. Second place
out of 2.
Yeah, first loser. All right, week 9 here. We're gonna break. It's Wednesday night, so tomorrow's night's game. I'm kind of excited about this one. Bengals at Ravens. I don't know who's going first. You going first, or am I?
You can go first. Well, yeah, we've only got 2 games to pick this week because the other one's us. So,
all right. I'm going with Ravens on this one.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Bengals at Ravens, so they're in Baltimore. The Ravens are favored by 6 points. When they won the game earlier this year in Cincinnati, it was in overtime 41-38, and that was a great game. Lamar had 4 touchdown passes. Burrow had 5. It's probably going to be entertaining like that again. I think Derrick Henry is going to be the difference maker, so I have the Ravens winning this one.
Our Sunday night game, which we don't pick Lions games because we, going to pick them to win every game, is Lions at Texans. Spent the whole podcast talking about that. We'll skip on to Monday Night Football. This is an interesting one. Dolphins at Rams. And I went back and forth, and I ended up landing on the Dolphins on this one. But I had the Rams initially, but I think this is a game Dolphins score. Outscore the Rams, but it's going to be a good game. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. This is a toss up. I mean, they're in LA. The Rams are favored by 1 point. What's interesting is that the Dolphins season is really on the line right now. Like, they're really struggling to hold on. They had to play a few games without Tua. Now they have him back. They've lost 3 in a row by a combined 10 points. So they've been playing a lot of these close games. They're just not able to get over that hump. And this is another big test for them. The Rams are 4-4. The Rams are fighting for their division right now. So it's not like they don't have a lot riding on it also. Right. But I just think the Dolphins, if the Dolphins don't get it done this week, then the season pretty much, that's almost a wrap. It's going to be really hard to come back for that.
Well, especially as well as the Bills are playing. Your division's going to be
right.
Almost out of reach.
And they did lose to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I have been wrong picking the Dolphins to win before. I actually picked them when they got smoked by the Titans. Mm-hmm. But I did say that I'm going to put my faith in them again and say that the Dolphins are going to win a close game against the Rams.
All right, so we both picked the same teams this week. So no movement in the standings next week. But yeah, I had the Rams initially on our spreadsheet here thing, and then I switched to the Dolphins. I feel like
that really just goes. It could go either way. There's just so
can.
many different scenarios.
I know the Rams are playing good too. So I think it's more like what you said. This is the Dolphins season on the line. This is essentially a playoff game for them. They need to get a win, and their record might be a little wonky just because Tua being out, because they look like hot garbage when Tua wasn't in there. And so I don't think they're necessarily what their record states. And I like their coach. I think Mike McDaniel's a very good coach, but so I think he's going to have them ready for this. But going across country it's not an easy thing, but they got an extra day of rest because of Monday Night Football. All right, let's get on to the Grit Guarantee.
It's time for the Grit Guarantee.
All right, I'll go first since you went first on the last thing. You mentioned this a little bit, taking deep shots to JMO. And so my Grit Guarantee is JMO leads the team in receiving yards this week. I don't know what the number will be, but he's going to lead the team in receiving yards.
But he's going to lead. Yep. I can dig that. I see that happening. I hope so.
Yep.
I've got a fun Grit Guarantee this week.
All right.
I want to preface this by saying that this is obviously it's another test against a really good team. So I'm not taking this game lightly. But I'm going to go with a non-traditional one here, and I'm going to say that a lineman is going to be involved in a trick play. Maybe they just get targeted. Maybe they do something crazy. Maybe Goff hands the ball off to Aleem and we let Aleem run it. Maybe Penei Sewell lines up in the shotgun and runs an option with JMO. There's just going to be a lineman involved in some sort of play here. Obviously we're going to try at least one trick play. Maybe, last week we kind of just did that little reverse thing just because of the game script. But I think we're going to try at least one, and I think there's going to be either offense or defensive lineman. One of them is going to be involved in a play this week.
All right. I like it. That's a fun one. That'll be fun. I'll look forward to doing that. And then when that happens,
and then I will text you instantly.
The text will be like, I'll see the bubbles, man. I'll be like, oh, here it comes. But just like when JMO hits a deep shot, I'll be like, yep, I'm on my way. So, yep, looking forward. I know that they're gonna utilize JMO. They're gonna be on a dry field. I think it's gonna be a good game. I'm really looking forward to Sunday. I know my boys are looking forward to staying up late. It should be a good game. Hey, before we go here, we did get a comment on Spotify from first time listener RJ. Here's what he says: first time listener, big Lions fan. Not sure how you could expect Branch to not make a hit on that play. He is going at full speed. You expect him to stop on a dime, let up, and let him catch it? Let's be honest here. And also, he won't be suspended for a middle finger. This isn't a PG league. So I don't know if his response was thinking that we thought that he should let up. And I think
it was directed. I don't know exactly what I had said before.
Yeah.
But it was something along the lines of, I think that Branch is trying to be an enforcer. Mm-hmm. And I do think that he had the intent on making a hit. He was making a play. The ball was thrown. He wasn't stopping. He was running. He was planning on making that play. I still stand by the fact that I think that he did have a split-second decision to maybe let up a little bit. He had already made that. There was just no way he was letting up. And in no way do I want him to change the way that he's playing. I want him to make that play. I want him to make that hit every single time. So I do want to say that. But I do think, if we're talking about, was there a chance he could have let up and not laid a hit exactly like that? Of course there was. There's also the chance that he would have made the catch on that ball, and then, then we would have been caught out of position because we were trying to worry about his safety. The receiver that got hit was okay with it, said it was clean, even though it was in the head. It's football. And he was still kind of in the air when he got hit. So, we're definitely not defending or saying that, Branch definitely shouldn't have made the hit or whatever. I do think he may have been able to let up on it. I just don't think he had the intention on letting up, and I don't want him to. That's not how we're playing football.
Yeah, I think the thing that maybe we're getting stuck on is that he would have had to let up before, he would have had to make a decision before the ball is touches the receiver, right?
Before he got there, right?
Right, yeah. By the time, before he makes that contact, he's made a decision. I'm going to hit this guy, and it doesn't. And the thing is that Brian said in his interview today during the presser that he's just got to aim a little bit lower. And
Yes.
but at the same time, it's a moving target. We get it. It's like impossible to. He doesn't know that his helmet's going to be right there. The receiver's diving, falling back for the ball. Brian's just going in there, but he did shy away from. I mean, he didn't go down with the crown of his helmet. Brian did the best that he could after he did made the contact. Should not have been ejected. That was stupid. The comment about him being suspended, I don't think he's going to be suspended. But the thing is that the NFL does inconsistent things with these suspensions. And I could see that was America's game of the week. Tom Brady's there. Everyone's watching. The league could have made a statement saying, you shouldn't have done that, because it was directed towards the fans in the stadium. And I could see them making a distinction, along with him getting really aggressive with the refs, not like physically aggressive, but like calling them bad names. And you could see, like, coupled with the ejection, the hit, flipping the crowd off, and abusive language towards ref, the NFL could simply say that was all those things lead up to a suspension. We haven't heard anything. I don't think that's going to happen. I would have thought they would have told the team by now that was even a thought. So that was just when we recorded this Monday night. That's early in the week. We don't know what's going to happen. And, as Lions fans, sometimes we go to the worst place, right? The worst thing possible, because it's happened to us. But,
I mean, it's still, regardless, even if he didn't hit him helmet to helmet, he made the decision that I'm hitting this guy. We're laying the hit stick right now, and it's a defenseless receiver. Yeah. So, if he does go lower, then there wouldn't be a question. He wouldn't have been ejected. There wouldn't have been a question, but that still probably would have been a penalty.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on,
which I'm not saying is the wrong thing. I just, what it is. It's football.
It is football, and the way they've hamstrung the defenses now, these defenders are in an impossible decision. They're going to make a football play, and they're going to side with player safety and get you injured. It has reduced the amount of helmet-to-helmet hits immensely, I think, in this league, which is a good thing. But you're never going to be able to, if you eliminated all of it, then all of a sudden we're playing two-hand touch, right? And then, football's not as
well. But then you have the flip side of that. Like, that's, Stafford getting on Kirby Joseph about being a dirty player and everything like that. If you're not going to hit him high, if you're going to have to go low, then you've got to go really low. You're trying to take him off at the hips, or if you time that one wrong, you're hitting right, like how Hawkinson got injured. And there's been countless guys that, end up getting these knee injuries just because that's a bang, bang play. They don't want that 15-yard penalty for hitting you, in the chest or higher. So they've got to go low. Right. You got a safety with a tight end or somebody coming over there. If you're going too low like that, that's what's going to happen. Either way, it's terrible. But
right. Well, even if you go, like, you figure back to week 2 with Arizona, where Brian got the concussion, he went low, and the Titans the tight end for the Arizona met him low, like, basically stuck his head out there. Brian couldn't have been much lower than what he was going for that hit. And
yes.
It just happens,
and then he got a fine for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, sometimes you just can't win. But RJ, if you're listening, I know first time listener, hopefully you enjoyed the show. You come back. We appreciate your comments. Hopefully this clarified our position on it. If you have any other questions or comments, please get a hold of us. The interaction's good, because, sometimes what we say, we know what we're saying in our head, that maybe it just doesn't come out clear on the other end for you guys. So, but our position, I think we tried to make it clear here. So hopefully that helped you out. Anything else you want to add, Jacob?
No, I'm good, man. I'm ready for Sunday night.
Sunday night, going to be up late. It's going to be hard to watch film to talk about this, Monday night, but we'll do our best for all our listeners out there. So for Jacob, I'm Jason. Let's go Lions.